Welcome to Luthiers Tips, Tools and Training from Crimson Guitars. I'm Ben Crowe. This episode is brought to you by the last 5%, which is the most important thing that we do. We build guitars because we love guitars, because we love playing guitars, because we love looking at them, because they are just sex personified. Yes, guitars are people too. We build guitars for people. And while those people think that what they like about our guitars is that they are sexy, well-made, solid, etc., the most important thing to them is how they play. Do they do the job that they need it to do effortlessly? Do they facilitate the playing rather than get in the way? And your setup is, it's arguably the first thing that a player will notice after they've looked at it, of course. So yes, spend some time on the finishing as well. Now at Crimson Guitars, we teach hundreds of people a year in person in our school how to build guitars. We teach thousands and tens of thousands online, and we also make tools for you guys. And one of the questions that we get repeatedly is about fall away or fall off. Is it required? Is it necessary? How do you do it? And as builders, as repair people, we tend to overcomplicate our lives far more than we should in some cases. This is one of those times where actually, when you delve into it, it is simple. Okay. Yeah, don't overcomplicate your life. Burn it. Whether the player likes a high action or a low action, whether the player wants a large amount of relief and curve in the guitar neck or not, it doesn't affect what we do at this stage. Now, what we're trying to avoid is string buzz. And the received wisdom is you level your frets, you crown your frets, and you do all of this with your fretboard absolutely perfectly flat. No string tension, no simulated string tension when you are working on the frets. And this is great because you end up with a perfectly flat fretboard. The tops of the frets are coplanar and everything should do what you expect. And this works once you have the string tension in the neck. You've got a small amount of relief in there, and the string, when you fret it, essentially is leaving the fretted position, the fret that it is being pushed down on, language, hey? At a slight angle, and that slight angle allows the rotational movement of the string to basically miss the next fret. If you are not missing the next fret, you get buzz. This is what we're trying to avoid. But you have got the relief in the neck, which generally is centered on the 12th fret, but you're playing all the way up and down the neck, which means that the position at which the string leaves the fretted fret, tell me in the comments what that sentence should be, moves up and down. And if you are fretting that note near the bottom of the relief or towards the other side, your string is still rotating, and it's actually rotating in a different shape because it is now shorter, and you may well get string buzz. I am not 100% certain on the geometry of the rotational force of the string as it's going around, but as the string shortens, the point at which it is rotating the most is still at the halfway point, which means if the string is rotating as much, if you're hitting it the same strength, etc., the point at which it hits the next fret is far closer as a relation of the percentage of the length of the string, if that makes any sense. And that is why this is necessary in many cases as you get higher up the fretboard. There are several reasons why you would potentially want to add fall away to a neck. And I do not do this on every single guitar. Sometimes it's just not necessary. You may find on a repair that you've got a bolt-on neck, you make the neck absolutely perfectly, or the neck has been made absolutely perfectly. It's nice and flat, the fretboard is perfectly flat, etc. And you put the bolts in, you put the screws in, tighten it up, and suddenly you've got a hump there, okay? Which is a reason why you should level and crown the frets when they are actually attached to the guitar. If you or your customer, your client, is playing a Telecaster with a 7.25 inch radius, a very tight radius, but they also like playing up at the dusty end, the radius also affects how close the string is when it is rotating, when you are rocking out. The radius can get in the way. And something that I've seen people do is they will essentially level those frets and change the radius at the top of the frets. So your client thinks they've got a 7.25 inch radius, but actually it's compound or something like that. In this case, you create the fall away at the same radius, so they feel comfortable all the way up and they feel the guitar feels as they expect it to, but it is the frets are being taken out of the way of the strings, thus allowing you to create a lower action for your client at the radius that they expect. Another reason for fall away, or to create fall away in a guitar that exists, is that your client may well decide that actually, yes, they want to go from playing with a 10 gauge to a 13 gauge set of strings. And not only do you have the rotation of the string as you're playing it, but now you've got far more string, and that string needs to go somewhere. These things change and develop and grow over time. Earlier I said don't overcomplicate your lives. You don't need to worry about whether I should or shouldn't add fall away. If you have a guitar that comes in and it plays absolutely perfectly and there isn't fall away, then you don't need to change anything. But if you are building a guitar from scratch, there is no downside to adding this. It will only make the guitar better. Whether the client wants a large amount of relief because they really dig in when they're playing or not, it can never hurt to have a small amount of fall away or fret fall off. What are we even talking about? Essentially, from about the 12th fret, your fretboard starts ramping up. And this is natural, this is what the truss rod does, this is what the string tension does. But we want to remove the frets from that area or thereabouts, generally the 14th, 15th fret, very slightly put a ramp down to the end of the fretboard. And it's easy to do. Very, very easy to do. Once you have leveled the fretboard in the usual way, using a notch straight edge to make sure that the neck is flat, and then using your leveling beam, leveling file, etc., to make sure the tops of every single fret is coplanar with the flat fretboard and that the radius is correct, don't forget that. You go on with a marker, mark the tops of the frets, and then we need to set the angle. In the past, I have done this from the 12th fret, but we are not after a very extreme ramp. This is fractions of a degree. So depending on what you need, I actually now prefer putting 3 layers of masking tape at about the 11th fret. And basically the thickness of the tape, that sets the angle that you're going to be going back. Take your leveling beam and put that angle in. Now, we've got sandpaper all the way down. You want to put another layer of tape at one end so that you're not sanding through to the, in this case, 10th fret. That would be hitting a moving target and not ideal. We now have 4 layers of tape canting the beam up at a slight angle, and it is going to start taking off a small amount, a very tiny amount of material off the top of the frets, moving from the last fret and up. You want to remove material evenly across the entire fretboard so that the radius is not adjusted unnecessarily. And in this case, you can see that a previous job of fretwork has been done. I'm not quite hitting the ends yet, and I'm most assuredly not going anywhere near the last fret. You will be removing more material from the frets towards the end of the fretboard, and this is where it's a judgment call. Generally, you want to remove at least a small amount of material from every fret from about the 15th or so up. That's the 15th. I'm pointing at the 17th. From the 17th fret and up. Now, at that 17th fret, you are going to be creating a bit of a variation in how flat the tops of the frets are. And if you have got a customer who has one of these, they may well come back to you and say, but I've got a rocking fret, there's something that's high or wrong, and you've done the job's wrong. You need to let them know that you have created fall away and that that's an added service that improves things, and your fret rocker is telling you that I'm good at my job, not bad. If you are a busy builder or repair person, this process might be a little bit too slow for you, and you can take your leveling file. Once you've set the angle and you've got enough frets to actually sit on and set the angle, you can take a leveling file and very carefully, if you are brave enough, use that angle to run your file. This isn't a file, this is a prototype leveling beam cross leveling file that I like playing with, but yeah, you can use a shorter tool that's a bit coarser and a bit quicker to create your angle faster than the leveling beam could, but that is, well, up to you. There's 1,000 ways to skin this particular cat. So now you can see we've removed all of the marker from the tops of all of the frets up until the 16th fret is absolutely clean, and at the 15th we're taking a small amount, we've just hit it, so it's a relatively gradual fall off, ramp down. Ramping the fretboard is another thing that you could call it. And well, from this point you crown and polish and do all of the normal things that you would do to the frets and forget that there's anything cool going on. And the coolest things that we do as luthiers and as repair people are often, well, completely invisible to the client. All they know is that they brought you a dog and ended up with a wolf. Wasn't a very good guitar. It is a very, very good guitar now, and they think you're magic. That's all we want. Thank you for watching. Click like, subscribe. No, wait, one more thing. You might be tempted, if you are a builder, if you're building guitars from scratch, you might be tempted to put the fall away into the fretboard itself. It makes logical sense. There's nothing really wrong with that, except for the fact that in 5, 10, 20 years time, some random repair person is going to put a notch straight edge onto the, I need props. There you go. Some random repair person is going to take their notch straight edge, put it on the fretboard and go, what the hell was he thinking? This neck's warped or moved or something. They don't necessarily know what you've done. So keep life simple, leave the fretboard flat, and go from there. But yeah, it's a question that I've asked myself many a time. In fact, I think I've probably put the fall away into fretboards in the past just to see what would happen, because hey, I enjoy poking the bear. Thank you for watching. Click like, subscribe. Let me know, well, let me know what you'd like to see on the channel. Tutorials like this, full builds, other things, Q&As. I'm always interested to hear your opinions, and I really appreciate your support. So, as ever, go make some sawdust. See you soon.